But Bob Palmer is a high-performance expert and trainer. Bob is a trainer for both athletics at a very, very high level, as well as business at a very, very high level. He's a published author whose clients include, get this, the U.S. Army Marksmanship Unit, Olympic gold medalists, the CEOs of top Olympic organizations around the world, and business leaders from all over the world. For 25 years, he has delivered his one-of-a-kind formula, a systems approach that builds a formidable leadership toolkit and gives individuals the skills to win in sales, business, sports, and life. Bob is also a passionate philanthropist who has impacted the lives of athletes and coaches in developing countries who cannot afford coaching. And like today's Zoom presentation, he works with clients via the internet on 6 different continents around the world. And, you know, Bob is another guy with remarkable, not only energy, but so much that he brings to the table. So, Bob, welcome to the call. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today, and welcome to Immunotech. This is this crazy company I've been telling you about. Now you're kind of seeing firsthand. We've got some incredible people associated with it. But let me turn the call to you, and I'm going to take some notes and probably ask 1 or 2 questions as well.
Well, thank you so much, John, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to your wonderful people around. I guess it's around the world, or just North America? Where?
All over. We have people on in the UK, in Spain, in the Dominican Republic, Mexico, Canada, of course, your home country, of course, the United States. We've got 1 person on from Guatemala, I believe, and perhaps 1 or 2 from Colombia and Peru.
Well, welcome to you all. Yes, as John says, I'm a high-performance expert. I am, I love what I do. I'm passionate what I do, and I'm listening to the passion that John has and everyone in this talk has about a product. Well, I'm passionate about my product, and about 12 years ago, I had a young lady call me up, or actually her manager did. She's an Olympic athlete, and she said, and he said, I need some confidence imbued into my athlete. And I said, well, I don't do confidence. And he said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, no, I help athletes win. He said, well, no. I just want her to be more confident. She blew out her shoulder. She's recovering from that. She's got, she's afraid of everything now. And this was in snowboarding and the half pipe, where you go up 30 feet and you do all these twists and turns. And she had a horrible crash and had surgery on her shoulder. And he said, no, we just want confidence back. I said, okay, if I help her to win and get her confidence, would you be happy with that? And he said, yeah. So we proceeded, and she went to Vancouver, and she didn't take gold. She took silver, but young Aussie girl just sort of muscled her out of the top spot, but real recovery for her. And she got back on track, and I was with her in Sochi, 0.25% in 4th place, and just amazing young athlete, and kept her in the 6-figure promotional side of things, right? Or she would have been lost along the wayside 10 years ago. But that's what I do. That's my expectation. It's not about feeling better, or, it's about getting you what you want, getting that high performance level, getting the fun back, and actually achieving what you want to achieve. And so I help athletes push the right buttons, and they achieve that. I teach a system that is pretty much a fail-safe product that I work when I work with my athletes. But an interesting thing happened when I was along the way working with athletes. It was I started working with executive athletes, and they were getting these incredible results. And they said, well, Bob, do you work with business as well? And I said, well, let's try, give it a try. They throw these problems at me. And I joined a business group, and they were some of my earlier clients. And just to give you an example, one of my business associates there, an insurance company, said, Bob, got a problem. I said, well, what's the problem? He said, well, we've got about 800 clients that are using this particular auto insurance product that the regulator has said we can't use anymore. And we got to call them all up and tell them that we have to increase the rates by about 30%. And he said, and he was all depressed about it. And he said, we're going to lose 50% of them. I know it. And said, well, I said, I could probably help you here. Invite me into your meeting. And so we went in corporate meeting. We had this talk with his staff and with him, and everyone's depressed. All the staff, we've got to make all the calls to people who are depressed because they don't want to do it. They want to be doing more productive things. And he's depressed. And I'm the only guy in the zone. And they trust me looking at me, as if I got two heads. Why is this guy in the zone? I mean, this is the worst thing that's ever hit this company. And so I said, you got a great product. They can't go anywhere else to get a better deal because that's what the regulator has stipulated. You need to be rethinking this thing a little bit. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, what an opportunity you got. They stopped. What opportunity? We're in a hole here. I said, no, you got to look at the opportunity. You've got permission to call every one of your clients up and ask them what their insurance needs are. Well, of course, you got to give them this news, whatever. But you can ask them what they need for their house or their house now, their snowmobile, their boat, all the insurance coverage that they need. You've got this opportunity to go in there and start, asking them what further coverage they need and make this call to them. And so it was interesting to see that change of thought within the whole boardroom, shifting them toward this idea of the zone. And I said as well, I mean, your staff a little depressed about having these calls. Why don't you have a big party for them at the end of the, this is going to be about a 2-week process. You got to get this all done by. And maybe you need to put a party on for your clients as well. So he did. He was expecting to lose 50% of his clients. He lost 5, but he more than made up for that in terms of goodwill and the new products he was selling to them. He gave a great big party, took his staff on a local boat cruise, had a big party for them, had a big party for his clients and his establishment, and which he has done every year up to now. With COVID, he couldn't do it this year. But it changed their perspective of everything. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple things today. I'm going to give you some takeaways. The actual strategies you can use in your sales approach when you're going out to see clients, prospective clients, whether it's with Immunotech or whether it's with, most of you have other parts to your life and jobs and family and whatever. So do 2 things. One is to give you an idea what this zone is I'm talking about. And 2, give you an idea of how you can support it. I can't do the whole program here. This is just a quick snapshot. But those 2 things, I think you go away and work on those 2 things and you'll have some pretty amazing results. So let's talk about what is the zone? Well, it's very simple. Most people want to make it complex, but it really isn't. Most people want to say, well, you get it once or twice in a lifetime, and you got to be really good to be there, and you got to be really practice all your skills, and you got to do a bunch of other stuff, yada, yada, yada. Wrong. Every one of you has been there. Every one of you has had that moment of brilliance where it just feels good. Well, how do you get that back all the time? Well, it's going to take some creativity here, but not much. Right now, I want every one of you do something that you probably haven't done for a while. Think about one of your most amazing experiences in selling Immunotech, in sports, perhaps. There are probably a lot of jocks out there. Maybe it was when your baby, son or daughter was born. It doesn't matter. Think of one of your most amazing experiences. And just like maybe having a hot cup of soup warms the interior, I want you to just take note of what that feels like. Not in your head, but your body. Talk about the spiritual, physical, mental side. This is really that kind of a combination of the 2. And what do you feel? Now, if you want to make this a little easier and a little more exciting later on, and if you're having trouble with this, go into the bathroom. I call it mirror time. Walk into the bathroom, look at yourself in the mirror and go, what's the most amazing experience I've ever had? And you're not going to recognize the person you're facing. They're going to light up, they're going to beam, and you're going to actually see what other people see in you when you're doing your sales approach. They're going to see, what do you want to see? Do you want to see this? Do you want your clients to see that person? And believe me, even on the phone, even if you're not face to face with them, even if you're not Skype to Skype with them or Zoom to Zoom, you're going to see them on that. They're going to hear it in your tone of voice. So take a look at yourself in that mirror and go, I'm in the best experience I've ever thought about. Man, I light up. Now here's the next step is take a look at yourself when you think of maybe your last sales failure. and notice what happens to your whole physiology. You're not going to recognize, maybe you will recognize that guy. Maybe that's the guy you live with most of the time. But you can't go there because everyone will see that in you and feel that in you. You got to take it back to your most amazing experience. Feel what that feels like in your core or in your shoulders or in your gut. You get that feeling. That's your green light, folks. That is your green light. And that's an amazing place to be. And I watched a podcast a couple of days ago that John and I believe Dan were on. And if you want examples of what the zone looks like, and I'm not just buttering John up here. I mean, you know, if you want an example of what the zone is, these guys live it. And you know, most people are watching John, and he was dispensing some really good, solid advice. But probably weren't watching Dan so much, because on the other side of the screen, there's Dan, and he is beaming like this. He's, you know, you can feel the zone he's in. Clearly, he's done his mirror time. He knows what that is, and he lives in it. John lives it. Every one of you can live in it by getting that feeling. Teach this to all my athletes. Age probably 10 and up, they get it. Some people, it takes a little more work to figure it out. So first tip is mirror time. I want you to go into that bathroom at the end of this meeting and look at yourself in the mirror. Ask yourself the two questions. What my most fabulous experience? Notice what you look like. And then maybe even see what you look like when you're under duress, because that will give you a wide range of what your client may see in you if you're not prepared for them. So that brings the second part, prepared. Now, in John's interview the other day, and I tell you, go back and watch that podcast. He talks about how he prepares the day before his meetings, right? And he's not just writing a list down. I know John, he's going, how's this going to work? He's visualizing the outcome, and he knows exactly how this sucker's going to work. And done. Next one. Visualizes that one. Oh, no, there's a problem with that. Got to call up somebody, get some support with this. But he sees it happen in front of his eyes. And it's really, I call it, it's my second step. It's really a visualization. Now everybody says, yeah, I did it as a young athlete. Oh yeah, but I've heard about visualization. And man, I don't do it because it's not effective. It's not effective because everybody's telling you to do it wrong. Everyone's saying, relax your body and do, you know, the progressive relaxation. Not to mock that. That's good for athletes that are high performers and they got to bring themselves down. That's a really, you know, fantastic exercise when you have to bring yourself down. But if you're visualizing for success, you need to do the opposite. You need to ramp yourself freaking so high up in the air that just seems doable. And you go, I love it. I can do that. And go down your list of things you have to do for that. The 6 things, as John suggested. Don't get crazy here. And just hammer each one. Plug in some adrenaline to it. And it'll feel real. And your brain will know it's real. And I mean, my first mistake when I did visualization, of course, was I did it in it's kind of a self-hypnosis relaxed state. I went to my competition, went to sleep. As soon as I started adding adrenaline and building that up, different experience. My brain would not let me lose. So do these 2 things. One is get that zone by doing some mirror time, as I call it, and play over what you want to happen the next day on your items on your list. See it, feel it as you're watching it, and go, yeah, you know, everyone see Tony Robbins. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of yeah you want to have. And that will become automatic after a while with practice. So just a story of how this might work. You know, a number of years ago, I was trying to break into the sports field big time at the top Olympic levels, and called up a guy and actually got him on the line, the top CEO of a Canadian sport organization. And I had done my rehearsal. I did my visualization. I was in the zone. And, you know, they had a rough spell. You know, Canada sees itself as squeaky clean, and one of their athletes was caught doping, and everyone was demoralized. But this guy's pretty brilliant, but just people weren't following him. And so I think it's a great opportunity. So talked about me working with his athletes, and he said, Bob, we can't do that. We have no budget for that. We have another organization. They look after our athletes. And it just clearly, he just got more and more depressed, and I could feel my zone going, whoop, no, my brain wasn't going to let me. I knew my outcome. I said, whoa, how about I work with you? Sure. Who said that? Holy crap. Did I even ask that question? And we had a very successful relationship. They had a great Olympics that year. And you could see his energy. He brought his people, his directors up. They got the coaches up. They got the athletes up. It just spread throughout the organization. So, practice those two things, and your power, your passion will be felt by everyone in your sphere. And I think John and I are talking about putting on a program in the new year where you can get this kind of training. You can call me directly. I think we got some contact information. I'm permitted to say that on this show. And also, I guess everyone else is kind of promoting things. This is my book, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is a Mind to Win. It's a sports-based book, but as one of my business people said, Bob, I bought your book for every one of my staff members. I know it's a sports-based book, but it's a clinic and a book, and my sales staff need that kind of passion and power that your book will give them.
Well, Bob, you bring up a lot of good points here, but one of those points about the mirror, and I'd like you to comment on this. You're never going to look at yourself in the mirror. Like even sometimes during these calls, I'm watching you speak right now, or I was watching Dr. Skip and John, et cetera. But I look at myself and it's like, smile, like look happy, look like you're happy to be here. And that mirror, you're so right about that. If you're talking to a prospect and you were looking in the mirror, you're not going to not smile at yourself. And to your point, you're thinking of a happy occasion. One of your kids was born, for example, or you had a successful presentation and signed up a good new leader in your business, or, something went right in life. You're going to have that happy emotions, and they go across the internet or the phone, or if we ever get back to in-person meetings, that other person feels that, as opposed to if you're, down in the mouth and, oh yeah, well, hey, let me tell you about Immunical. The person, they didn't sign up. Well, of course they didn't, because you had no passion about what you were doing. But it's such a valuable thing that you shared there. Just comment on that, if you would, a little bit on your end.
Well, there's a science behind that, and it's called the science of mirror neurons. And it's how we connect. It's how we learn. It's how we build rapport. It's how we lead. And when I work with an athlete, I tell them at the end of every session, I'm going to ask you a question. And that question is, how will you perform now? And if you can't tell me fantastic, then I haven't done my job. Because all throughout the meeting, I'm using my physiology, my zone, to get them in the zone. And I'm taking them through exercises that, of course, facilitate that. But by and large, most of the change happens by me being in the zone, and I'm edging them to that level. And I've talked to business guys who were just down in the dumps. I had one guy who was, I think he lost his first wife to cancer, just divorced recently. His business was going fine, but he's just tired of it, right? He was just tired of the grind, and so much else was happening peripheral to it that he just wasn't enjoying it anymore. And this just looked like death warmed over. And and I'm describing the program, but I'm a little person on my shoulder, Bob, too, is laughing, because he knows what this guy's going to look like. He knows the outcome. He knows what this business guy's going to look like in just 8 weeks. And then, session by session, physiologically, I get him here, then I get him here, then I get him here. And by the end of it, he's one of my best clients still. I'm working with his staff. He's in Denver. I'm not, I haven't met him in person. I don't meet most of my clients in person, but he's a changed individual, because he learned how to get in that zone. He's learned how to sustain it himself. I don't see him anymore.
And you know, that visualization, the first time I ever heard it, I want to say was at the 76 Olympics. And I'm dating myself a little bit here, but you remember those. And I know John Molson remembers those, but Dwight Stones, I think, was the first guy, high jumper, Facebook friend of mine, by the way, great athlete, great guy, great broadcaster, still broadcasts track and field around the world. But anyway, Dwight was the first guy I ever heard that said he goes into that mental zone that you're talking about, closes his eyes and sees himself going down the runway and making the adjustment to address the bar. Talk about that a little bit, visualization, because I think whether it's great athletes or great performers in the arts or great performers in business, which is what all these folks on this call today are being and attempting to be and constantly improving themselves, including myself and the other leadership on the call today. How do you visualize that success, especially right now, right? When all the things that are going on in the world, all the outside influences that aren't necessarily good, you turn on the news, there is no good news, right? For the most part, how do you get that mindset so that you visualize, hey, when I talk to somebody about my business, they're going to feel what I feel. From the mirror standpoint, that's one issue, but that visualization of success and what it is that they want to achieve. How do you handle that?
It has a lot to do with repetition. The more you visualize with that intensity, the sooner it starts to feel real. I mean, I have guys who go to World Cups all the time, and they used to go hoping to get into the match final because they'd never been in a match final in a World Cup before, most of them. And by visualizing repeatedly that they're in that World final, that World Cup final, they get there, they know they're going to be there. It's not, oh, geez, I got to work my tail off and I'm going to be in that World Cup final. It's a reality. They're walking around. I mean, the first time I experienced this in the martial arts, one guy grabbed me by the gi and just tugged on me. He said, Bob, I'm going to hold you down. I exuded that, right? And I'm going, what do you mean? But I had won that tournament 200 times in my brain, full adrenaline. I was crushing people, right? Not UFC, just so you know, it's point karate. I'm not a big concussion fan, but they couldn't hold me down. I mean, in my first fight in that zone, the guy I was fighting stopped fighting. Yeah. He stopped, and I'm going, okay, what's going on here? And then I kind of motioned him into the fight, which was a big mistake. I almost got disqualified for taunting him. But afterwards, I realized I was so in the zone. I knew I was going to win this, but that was in the background. I was so in the zone that he knew that I knew what he was going to do next. I was reading him.
And there's the key words, folks. And I want you to get this in your notes. You knew he was going to win before the fight even started. Know that you're going to close, because what we have with Immunotech and Immunical is so overwhelmingly important for the other person listening, that know that they should do the right thing and either become a customer or a consultant with Immunotech before you make the presentation. When you start to get that kind of confidence to yourself is when your business is just going to explode, when everybody seems to say yes. Now, they're all not going to. We know that. That's not reality. It's not human nature. But if you have that mindset and somebody says, no, I'm coaching a girl up in British Columbia right now in our downline, and she's struggling. Right? She's Spanish and she's living in an English city, and she's struggling a little bit. And I don't know if she's on this call or not, but I told her that same thing. So just listen, the people who say no, you're one step closer to yes, but have that confidence. Now she's starting to, and now she's starting to get a little bit of result. Everything that Bob just shared here, it's here, guys and girls, Bob, last word.
This can be applied to individuals, yourself, or your whole team. I mean, it's a fabulous approach to improving your life in general, because it can't be contained to your business. You're going to apply it if you have a hobby sport. Your spouse is going to go, what are you on? What vitamins are, I mean, it has a ripple effect in everything you do. Your kids, your hockey team, if you're baseball, if you're coaching, it's going to have an amazing impact. and it's fun.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Bob. Appreciate it. And be in touch and stick around. We got a couple other really interesting speakers you're going to enjoy.
I will. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thanks again, Bob. Appreciate it. And, you know, I'm taking notes here. I'm just looking at my notes because I've got the notes for running the call. And I mean, I go back to Dr. Skip was talking about, you know, a third nutrition, a third structural, a third spiritual. Boy, that's life stuff that you can run on. And then I look at what Bob just talked about visualization, right? And knowing that you're going to win before you even compete. Very, very important in every aspect of our life. And of course, the mirror. Hey, look in the mirror before you do the presentation, right? And you're going to smile at yourself. You can't help it, right? You're not going to go in and be mad at yourself. You're going to go in and you're going to smile at yourself a little bit, right? Just those things, just that those two gentlemen shared. Man, this is stuff people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get, and you're getting it for free because you're part of Immunotech Research and you're part of this dynasty that we're creating with Immunocal around the world. And hey, our next speaker